following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin. Hi everyone, this is Christine, and this is 50 Shades of Bullshit. Today, Jada is unable to join us. She had something going on that she couldn't get out of in time to come back and join us today. So I have roped in my friend Elena to not only be a guest, but to kind of just be here on the show with me from the beginning and kind of be my co-host, cohort, you know, that kind of thing.
Not being a cohort.
I know, cohort. I have no idea what that means. I just said it. So hi, Elena. Thank you for being on my show today.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for thinking of me. Totally excited to be here with you and chat.
I love this. So, at the top of each show, we talk about, dating experiences or dating stories or, well, Elena and I went out to have a little, appetizers and drinks last night and kind of caught up on our chit chat. And I just want to I'm not going to put you on the spot, Lena. I'm not going to talk details about what happened to you because that's your story to tell, not mine. But you did have a situation that I'm very familiar with.
I'm very familiar with.
I think a lot of people, oh my gosh, our producer said cohort is a group of people with a shared characteristic. Yeah, we're shared.
For sure.
Okay, so Elena just went through something where she liked somebody and it was going very, very well.
Yeah.
And had no signs of slowing down or problems. This person was stepping up to the plate like a real home run batter. And I've been there, and I know a lot of you have. And something happened in his life where the ex was brought kind of back into the picture because of,
something
that happened, not to his accord, but he could have said, no, I moved on. Let's not bring her back into this, family situation. But he did not. And he's going to, how do we put this shit? It's a shade of bullshit. That's bullshit. He's going to give it a shot with her. Again. Yes. I have been there so many times, Elena, that my heart literally just sunk for you. I think that by sharing these types of things, people can relate and go, oh my God, I'm not alone. I actually dated somebody that I really liked. He was pretty cool. It seemed to be going well. And he didn't tell me he was getting a divorce because I don't date men who are married or separated or in the middle of a divorce. They have to be fucking divorced. Exactly. And I like it to have a little bit of space there too. So they're not, obsessing about talking about their ex or blaming their ex or whatever, that they're, healed and whole and moving forward. This person that I went out with told me that he was going back to his wife. And I was like, excuse fucking me.
Well, so can I say something? Usually, on a first date, and not to say I don't say it like an investigative reporter or like a detective. I usually, ask just like a handful of questions. It's kind of like my normal thing. And it's a form of protection for myself where it's like, hey, when did your last relationship end? You kind of can get a temperature of where they're at and what they're feeling. And then I say, how did it end? Are you guys still friends? Is there any chance at all that you might go back with them? Like if they were to say, hey, maybe we try again, what would you say? And usually you can kind of tell by someone, their answers and the look on their face as well. And for some reason with this person, I guess I was talking to the girlfriend and she's like, well, usually you wait for that in where that conversation can start and you can bring that. And I didn't get that in the first date and it just kind of took off. And I never ever asked that question, any of those questions to him. And I feel like on my part, that was in a sense, I mean, he did it.
It's not your fault.
It's not my fault, but I could have maybe protected myself and asked him those things. And then, maybe I could have been ready for the punch, but
I don't know, girl. I got to tell you from the beginning, hearing about how you met and the whirlwind that it's been going on with you. I really think that if you had asked him that he would have honestly said, no, I don't see us ever getting back.
Right.
I really do. Yeah, I really do believe that. But we both know, and as every woman in the world who's listening knows, this is the thing. Yeah. We know it's not going to work out. You break up for a reason.
What is that? I wonder what the actual percentage is of like people that don't make it to the altar. So I guess they were engaged or something, that break off that before, or even dating. Like, what's the percentage rate of that actually succeeding? I think both people should maybe have like done work on themselves and,
Right.
I don't know if he has, and I don't know if she has, but I know that she was dating someone and he was dating someone. So,
So this is the thing about that. I know for a fact, from my experience, every single man, guy, because I don't want to call him a man, every single fucking guy who called it off with me because they wanted to get back with their ex or back with their last girlfriend, that they have come back within month, 2 months, whatever, 6 months, and said, I made a mistake. I should not have chosen her over you. You were incredible. The shit that hit the fan the first time hit the fan again.
Probably twice as hard.
Yeah, and pretty gross. And it happens. And they want me back. And I say to them, well, I'm what you should have been in the first place. Right. I don't go backwards. I do not. Now, with that being said, I kind of did. I do need to talk about that. But with Christian, my boyfriend, for those who are just listening in and you've not heard the backstory, we broke up 9 years ago. And it wasn't because of anything that we weren't happy with each other. There were, he had small children. I had small children. It was a lot to deal with. His family was involved a lot. That was a lot to deal with. And I wasn't equipped at the time. I still was healing and I couldn't handle it. Now, you said a minute ago, he should have to do work. She should have to do work. Well, we both did our work. We both grew. We both changed. Right. So for him and I, 9 years later, who were nowhere near in a relationship, we were broken up with our ex, previous relationships for quite some time. And we weren't, like breaking it off with someone new saying, yeah, my ex came back into the picture. I mean, that it feels so much, it's a lot different than what you had to go through this week. And, I'm sorry you had to go through that, but yeah,
I'm okay.
You are. We were having drinks and this young hot guy comes walking up to her as he's walking out the door and he leans in and he goes, "You're so beautiful." And Elena just like went, "What?" And he goes, "You're so beautiful." And she goes, "Oh, oh, me? Thank you. And I was
Who's
like,
talking
girl,
to?
shut up. But he walks out the door, and a
Didn't
few
even
minutes
stop.
later, she goes, he didn't even say anything to me other than I was beautiful. Why didn't he ask for my, name or number or whatever? Men ain't got any game these days. I'll tell you that. Yeah, so that's our little thing for this week. Nothing much is going on for me. I went down to Dana Point and spent the holiday with Christian, and we just saw the fireworks off the barge and chilled out and hung out. The weather in Orange County has been real shit for a while. You would not know it's July. It's been horrible. We have not been able to go out on the kayaks or the stand-up paddle boards at all, and it's been depressing. But that's life. So here we are. Let's talk about our topic today. So
What a good one.
I know. And I just had a friend break up myself. And I can talk about this biatch now. We're talking today about traveling with friends, and it is not an easy thing to do. I personally think you have to have a lot of patience, and you're not dating this person, so it's not like you're like, oh my god, they're so cute and they're good in bed, so I don't care if he was stupid. But friends, it's different. You have to be really good friends, and you have to be patient, and you have to be understanding and going with the flow. If you're not too going with the flow kind of people, you might have an issue.
You might
But
have
I'd love
several
to,
issues.
yeah, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts, Elena. I have a couple of friend travel stories myself.
Yeah. Do you want to go for bad stories first? I mean, or like what makes a bad trip or a bad travel companion that you're friends with?
Yeah. I traveled to Ireland with my best friend, Gabby, and my
Mhm.
daughter, Arissa, and I thought it was a fantastic trip. We did have one moment where we were getting tired. It was towards the end of the
I
trip. We
remember
were
this
there
story.
for 10 days. It was a lot of go, go, go. Plus, they had the biggest snowstorm in Ireland's history while we were there, and we got stuck in a place, and we didn't get to go to some of our other destinations, and that
Oh,
was a drag.
that
um
can fuel it.
and it, yeah, it got a little, Gabby and I kind of went at each other for a little bit there. We got a little pissed off at each other, but we got over it because we're besties, and we're like sisters. So it was like two sisters getting pissed off at each other about something stupid for a minute, and then
Right.
being fine the next, which is great. um I went to New Orleans with another really good friend of mine, Natalie, and we had the best time of our lives. What was great about that trip is that we both are easygoing. We both just have this adventurous nature. We I knew New Orleans fairly well. She'd never been there, so I was kind of like uh, you know the the tour guide, which was a blast. We had
That's
a
awesome.
blast. We had a great time. It was a perfect trip. Those are great things.
Yes.
Um, I went on a trip for 10 days with my friend that we just had a breakup.
Hmm.
Breaking up with friends suck. But when your friend sucks for years and years and years, and you're putting up with shit for years and years and years, and they're not putting the same effort in as you, it's okay to break up with your friends.
Yeah.
So, this friend and I, we went on a trip, and it felt like every turn, I was in my weight loss era. Then it was like 6 or 7 years ago. I had lost a bunch of weight, and I was feeling good. I wasn't quite where I wanted to be, but I was feeling good, and I was down like 35 pounds. I was feeling good, and I walked by this little store, and we had the cutest clothes. It had this beautiful white dress, and
Mm.
like summer, tropical dress. So I was like, "Ooh, me that." I don't wear white because I feel self-conscious. I think white makes you look bigger, and when you're a big girl, it feels terrible. So I wanted that fucking dress. And I went in and my friend said, "Oh, it's a medium. He'll never be able to get into that." And I was like, "Bitch, really?" So I walked over. It was funny. I snatched the dress off, had it in my hand. I walk over to the dressing room and the curtains closed. Put that dress on and that curtain open. It was like, I'm in it.
It
I
felt
bought that
good.
fucking dress.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't just that, it was like snide comments here and there about my looks or my whatever, my
Sounds like
weight.
she was jealous.
Yeah, look, other ethnicities think I am hot as shit. Okay. There are certain ethnicities that love blonde, blue eyed, fair skinned women. And we were in another country where they really appreciate my look. My friend is uh, Italian, dark hair, dark eyes, dark skin, whatever. Um, Everywhere we walked, they would stare at me.
Oh yeah.
And I'm big and bold and loud and I have blue in my hair and I'm just
You're
like
fabulous.
I'm I'm out there. And so men tend to stare at me. They've always stared at me. I mean, I had a huge modeling career forever. I'm not opposed to people staring at me. I'm used to it. So she made a comment, why do all these men stare at you? And it was the way she said it, it was the way it was done. And I was like, I don't know, maybe they think I'm weird looking or something. Who knows? But I was like, what? And it just every little thing, I don't know, it was a lot of shit. So if you traveling with somebody and things like that crop up, there's deeper issues.
Yeah.
And I overlooked it because we worked together a lot and I needed that work to survive. And now
Right.
I don't give a shit if I have that work anymore. I will survive whether I have that work or not
Right.
because I refuse to have somebody treat me bad. And I give and give and give and give in a relationship. Doesn't matter if you're my friend, my boyfriend, my children. And
Yeah.
if you fucking walk on me or treat me like garbage, you're out. And though that trip was a really amazing trip and it was a lot of fun, and we did have some fun on it, there were times that it was quite difficult. And I thought, damn, I would have had a funner time by myself.
Yeah.
Which Janice, former Cella, she has been on here many times. She talks about traveling single.
Okay.
Single traveling, going on your own. I'm not sure if I'm there yet, but I am not going on trips with friends who are dicks anymore. That's for sure.
That's for sure. But here's the deal. Sometimes you never ever know that your
Mm,
friends are dicks
mhm.
until you are on a trip and you are basically the only person that you have to talk to. I haven't had a lot of travel experience. I know that sounds weird. Up until recently, up
Mhm.
until like maybe 7 years ago, I didn't really travel was very local. I never really traveled internationally and I never really did it with friends. And I had taken a trip with a childhood friend.
Mm.
Um, I provided the plane ticket and all the hotels and the rental car was already covered. I got it as a gift. And she had never left the country before ever in her life. And um, as adults, we live cross country from each other, but as adults, we had been in touch and I know her values and things were very different than mine, but I knew that, this would be something really nice that we could, I was hoping and praying that we could, enjoy ourselves. Um, it it started. I should have known on the plane there. On the plane to Italy, I should have known. Our seats were moved around, and she was behind me, and she's like, okay. And she's really loud. And I was starting to get nervous. And she's like, I'm going to take 2 sleeping pills and I'm going to sleep. I'm like, no, 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 no. We'll be there in like 10 hours. Don't do 2 sleeping pills. She's like, oh, you don't know. You don't know. I'm fine. I'll be great. And I went to sleep. Woke up multiple times because I heard her laughing. She had met a gentleman sitting next to her and was awake the entire flight.
Uh-oh.
And did not allow her meds to kick in. So
Mm.
it started off like that. Then, you know, I was like, okay, so the rental car's on my name. I'm going to drive. Your only job is to navigate, is to completely navigate. And here's a life tip for you. Before you go to any other country, make sure you download your navigation app in your said country, unless you are fluent in that other language. I had forgotten that mine was deleted and I had re-downloaded again and it was all in Italian.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So I know like maybe 5 to 25 words. I don't know, depends on the day. And I looked at her and I said, you are going to really have to pay attention. Like super focused. We got there. It's pouring rain. I've never been to Italy. I've never driven in another country. I was like, you have to be vigilant for me. Please, please be vigilant. And I was like, okay, we're getting the rental car. All right. I know where everything is. We start to drive away. I was like, what does the app say? Left or right? And she's like, oh, I wasn't paying attention. And I was like, we're not even out of the airport parking lot. Are you kidding
Oh
me?
my God.
And she's like, hold on. It says, oh, I can't read Italian. I'm like, I already told you this. I'm like, come on.
Arrow.
Follow
Is
the
it left or
arrow.
right?
Yeah. So it should have been a 45-minute drive. It took us like an hour and 15 minutes. We did get there. We did laugh. I was like, all right, we're going to clear it out. And then I was like, all right, we have tickets to this and that. And she's like, yeah, I'm really tired.
Oh my God.
Because she didn't sleep. And I said, yeah, you should have slept on the plane, but we have to go. So I made her go and, you know, everything was okay. And then we finished and we came back for a nap and then went to go out. And I started to notice little things here and there, little cracks in the veneer that I had never seen before or noticed. And I just kept sweep.
Yeah.
Away.
Because you're on vacation.
We're
You
on
want to have
vacation and
fun.
I'm not going to do that. Like, look, I am not the neatest person by anything, but when I go on a trip and in the bathroom, because this has a lot with women, you need to know which side you're going to be on. And if that's your side, keep your shit on your side. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
even if it's like last minute and you're running out and you're like, I'll clean it when I get back, you know, and throw everything and go. Her stuff was all over the bathroom. There was no my side. It was, this is hung up here. That's hung up there. Everything was everywhere. And I was like, okay, cool. All right. And then, and like the first part of the trip was like the first 3 days were like, oh, okay. And I noticed she was drinking a little excessively. And I was like out with her and we're in a foreign country. And I was like, I turned around. I'm like, where the heck did she go? I was ordering a cocktail with the waitress and I turned around and she's gone.
She just disappeared?
30 minutes, couldn't find her. I was like, I wouldn't answer text. So I walk outside and she's outside with her cocktail, with her arms hanging on the doorman and just drinking. And I'm just like, hello? Cool. I'm glad you didn't get sold into white slavery. Let's go. You know, I didn't want her to get sold into anything. You don't know what's going to happen to anyone anywhere. And I was like, okay, but the real testament came when we went to a different part of the country. And I am allergic to cats. She is aware. She loves cats. In this particular hotel, we got it was like a cottage, and there were stray cats everywhere. And we went to this little store down the road to pick up some little snacks. Anyways, I'll speed this up. Pick up snacks. I come back, and she has let all of the cats in the room. She is feeding them all. They're climbing over my bed, my luggage. They're everywhere.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I just asked for like one thing. Please don't do this to me. She did that. And then it was like I was driving. And then it was comments about my driving. Then it was comments about the hotel. It was just like all these like knives and daggers being thrown at me. And I'm pretty mellow on a trip.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I'm pretty mellow. About things and the things we're doing. I'm like, okay, well, if you don't want to do this, what do you want to do? And then all of a sudden we were there and she's like, hey, I have a friend in Florence. It's like this girl that I had for what is it when the kids come over and stay with you, when when the kids are in high school.
You're talking about international, like,
Yeah, like they do the school swap or whatever, and they stay
yeah,
with
yeah.
the family.
I
They
know
go
what
to
you're talking
concerts.
about. I
So
can't.
she had a
Yeah.
girl. She had a girl come live with her for a year, and she lived in Florence. She's like, I told her we would be there today,
Oh,
and I was like, well, I have an itinerary right here. That does not say go to Florence, and so I was like, okay, compromise. Let's go see her and let's say hi and take her to lunch, and then we'll head back. And lunch turned into, here, let's go this way, and drove us into the city. And then, here, let me go show you all these things. And we were there till the evening, and and they went off. Like at one point they were like walking and talking, and I was standing there like by myself, and I was like, this is cool. I like this. And that was fun.
not.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I have the keys, and yeah, maybe I should go. I did not leave her though, but we did all that. And then she was very grateful. And then, it just kind of snarled into this gnarly thing, and it just kept getting worse and worse, and just kind of like the thing where words were cutting and biting, and the things she said, and
Yeah.
but she wasn't just getting aggressive with me, she was getting aggressive with the people there. And
Mm.
so, and I was like, I do not want to be in any kind of trouble. And that's something you really have to think about, is the person that you travel with, internationally or local, are they going to get you in trouble? Do you know
Right.
their personality when they drink or when they do drugs, or you know what I mean? Like or when they're
Yeah.
tired or cranky or when they haven't eaten. Do you know that personality? Because if you don't, you're going to be in a world of hurt. I really thought she was going to get us into a lot of trouble multiple times, like in restaurants and bars and all these things. And I was always like, shh, shh, shh,
Mm.
pipe down, pipe down. So I've had, a few trips with different people that I just, I learned about them as a person. But for the
Mhm.
most part, I travel with one person and one person only, and that's
Yeah.
my closest friend. And I've never, I mean, like again, I haven't traveled like a lot, but I've never traveled better with anyone else besides her. So
Yeah. Your friend Julie.
yes.
You guys went to Ireland recently too.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
before she had her kidneys removed. We
Right.
did a whirlwind. It was basically
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I've got this scheduled. I don't know when the next time I'm gonna go anywhere. Why don't we just take off?"
That's
And we did.
amazing.
And we did Ireland. We kind of sandwiched Ireland, sandwiched Scotland. We did Ireland, Scotland, and then back to Ireland
Ireland.
to leave. Yeah. And that was amazing. And we had a great time. It was good.
Our producer said it's the International Exchange Program.
Thank you.
Yes, I know. Some of our listeners are going to be screaming, the exchange program. Yeah. What makes you think that there's a difference between good traveling companion and a bad traveling companion?
I think before you go on a trip with someone, I think it's fun to like plan something and go, okay, so let's figure it out. And maybe go out with them and do like a real hardcore evening and just see how they are and how they behave with other people. I think that's a really big tell, is how they behave with other people, and because if they're not going to show respect to some people, they're probably not going to show respect to you. And after like a certain amount of days, the gloves come off.
Well, the friend that you've known since childhood, wouldn't you think that you wouldn't expect her to behave that way on your trip?
She's a bit of she's not an airhead. Well, she kind of is, and I'm sorry to say that, but you say that to her, you go, hey, turn off the helium, and she's like, oh, was I doing it again? She's that person. I loved her very much. She's no longer friends with me. But,
Right. That's
yeah.
what I'm talking about. Cutting friends out that are not,
She did the best
serving.
thing though. She did it, and it saved me all the trouble in the world. Like
Right.
sometimes people show themselves the door, and that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, 9 times out of 10, you think you know someone, and then you travel with them, and that 1% that just lingers is so bad. Because if you, I mean, I've heard horror stories. I know Julie has friends that went traveling, people, and like ended up in like screaming matches and leaving the other person, that like bad stuff.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of the topic, kind of not the topic. I traveled to Vegas twice with
Mhm,
two different guys that I was dating at two
mhm,
different times.
right.
Um, yeah, that sucks too. Um, you know, I've always been told, always, whether it be with my ex-husband, boyfriends, friends, that I'm incredibly easy and fun to travel with because I'm super laid back. I will go with the flow. And I also love to make plans. I love to do adventurous stuff. You know, if we have plans to do something majorly adventurous and then something changes, I'm cool with it. I'm like, okay, let's do this other thing now. I'm really open. I'm really flexible, and I fucking love to travel.
Yeah,
So, but it's not always that way with other people. Some people are just not flexible.
correct.
um it's hard when someone has like food issues, like say you
Mhm.
have food, yeah, like say like you have food issues, and they're not willing to, accommodate that.
Accommodate.
Like
Yeah,
I
it's
traveled
hard.
with Janice recently,
Uh-huh.
and she has the same kind of food issues as you.
Oh,
And
Lord.
I was fine. I don't care. I mean, if we can't go to one restaurant because she can't eat gluten and it's all fucking gluten, I'm okay with going somewhere where it's got more options for her. I mean, who cares? It's not the end of the world.
I
If it's
I
something I
agree.
want, I can go on my own to do it.
Yeah, but not everybody's like that. And
Yeah.
and so I have become accustomed to, I'll just find something in this restaurant, don't worry about it.
Right.
I always
Right.
pack snacks too, by the way, in case I don't get to eat. I go back to the room and my suitcase usually is full of, I usually, and Julie will attest to this, when we wherever we arrive, I usually set up a pantry.
Have your food you can have just in case there's not options.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
will set up, and I usually whoever I'm traveling with, it's always Julie. I know her favorite snacks too, so it's like a little sprinkling of both of our favorite things, and that's late at night. Sometimes you come back and you're like, "Ooh, I wish I had a." Yeah, it's right there.
There you go.
I'm the thoughtful traveler.
Yeah, me too. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm the accommodating one too.
yeah.
It's funny. It was before I got a divorce from my last marriage. I won a trip to Australia from the radio.
I love it.
It was so fun. So from Kiss FM, I
Okay,
won the inaugural flight to Australia for Virgin Airlines.
I love it.
And
Congrats.
my ex-husband and I traveled amazing together. Like we used to do travel journals together. It was fun. We traveled incredibly well. Not our life together wasn't always perfect, but traveling together was great. He was always excited to go to Australia as well. So I was so excited to tell him about this trip. And a little known to me, he was already one foot out the door.
Uh,
I did not know that, but he made the excuse that, he needed to stay home with Ella. She was like 2 at the time. We had friends who were going to willing to take care of her
mm,
and the other kids. I mean, they were teenagers. So someone was going to watch our kids. So that wasn't the
yeah.
problem. But he made that excuse. He also said he couldn't get away from work and blah blah blah. So I had tickets for 2 to go, and none of my girlfriends were able to go at the time. And I didn't have at that time a lot of female friends. Yeah, most of my female friends were through the friendships that my husband and I had, and there were issues with that because there were issues in the marriage, and I just didn't
Right.
know it. Anyway, long story short, there was this woman who I'm an event planner, and she and I have become friends. She had a cake company, a really high end cake company. And I had just been spending a lot of time with her recently because I'd had a lot of meetings with her and my clients. I also was getting her on board with the company I was working with to be the main cake company. And I just made a comment to her. I said, hey, would you by chance be willing? It was a Thursday. This was a Thursday that I won this trip. And you had to leave on Monday.
Wait, what? They gave you 4 days?
4 days. I had to leave. And I said to her, would you be able to possibly go on this trip with me? And she was like, oh my God, yes. Because she's a small business owner too.
Yeah.
So she's like, yes, I can. So I didn't know her all that well. I just thought she was cool. We went on the trip and she got there and she was going through something personal, emotional. And I didn't know. And she didn't tell me. She didn't share with me. And all she wanted to do was lay in bed and sleep the entire trip.
Stop.
So it was really hard to convince her to go with me to do things, but
she could have done that from home.
I know. She slept in bed in fucking Australia almost the whole time. And she said to me, yeah, I don't want to do that. And I was like, but I really want to do it. And I was afraid to do it by myself. This was a long time ago. This was like 14 years ago. And I said, well, you got to do some things with me. So she did do some things with me. We, at that point, got to meet a bunch of other people from the plane, from the same trip, from the same group of people that won the same contest that I did. Yeah, the plane was full of all of us. Now, if I'd known that it was only us from the radio station winners, I would have made friends before we got there with those people, like from the plane. But we did start to meet people while we were there, and they were talking about how much fun they had doing these things that I fucking wanted to do that she didn't want to do with me. And then she did say at the end of the trip, this was a really amazing trip. I'm sorry that it was so hard for me to get out of my funk. I'm sorry that I held you back. I really wish that I had gone to do those other things too. And I was like, okay, I get it. It's okay. I survived it. We had a good time. It's okay. After that trip, she completely disappeared. I don't have a clue where she went. I don't even know how to get a hold of her company to buy a fucking cake anymore.
Wow.
I mean, she just disappeared. So, you never know.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure there are so many people out there right now that are like, oh my God, I have the worst story. By the way, if you have a story and you want to share it, we do read people's stories on the air. I do want to do a listener's story episode. So, you can write in.
I want to hear some really bad stuff. I have a girlfriend of mine, when I posted today that I was going to be on with you, she's a flight attendant.
Yeah.
And she wrote me and she's like, oh my God, I have so many stories.
Oh my gosh, we should have her back.
Yeah.
We should have her come in, not back,
You'd love her. I met her through, we shared a boyfriend at the time.
Oh, I have a friend. Oh my God.
That's how we met. Well, I met because I went to find her because I found out after 2 years of dating him that he was 10 years into her. So I wasn't even number one. I was number two, and there was more behind us.
Sister girlfriends. Yeah. So funny that you mentioned that. A handful of years ago, I think my 5 or 6 years ago, I was dating some dude, and I was working an event on Saturday, and he's like, hey, let's go out on Saturday. And I said, oh, let's go on Friday. And he's like, okay. And then he comes back and goes, no, I can't on Friday. The guys and I are going out. We're going to this little golf course bar, and we're gonna have a guys night, but I can with you Saturday. And I said, what part of I'm working an event on Saturday did you not hear? And he's like, yeah, no, it's fine, I'll come over after your event. I'm like, yeah, when I'm sweaty, dirty, and fucking tired. No. So anyway, long story short, he does not go out with me on Friday. He comes over on Saturday, and then he's irritated that I have a bunch of people coming and going with unloading my truck, with wanting food. My kids live in my house. They also work for me. Everybody wanted, to hang out, and he was irritated by it. I said to him, hey, do you know my friend who's the bartender at that golf course? And he's like, no, I don't know her. I don't know her name. It doesn't sound familiar. And I thought, she is still working there. How does he not know? Well, long story short, Sunday, the next morning, when you open your phone for Facebook and it says people you might know, well,
Right.
he popped up. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I clicked on his profile and it says mutual friends. My friend that I said, do you know her? And he
Right.
said, no. So I called my girlfriend and I said, do you know this guy? And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm dating him. And I was like, so am I.
So am I.
She's like, I just went out with him on Friday. I said, he told me he was going out with the guys on Friday. She said, well, he told me he's going out with the guys on Saturday.
Of course.
Nice. We actually lost track, that friend and I.
Oh,
When I was down in Dana Point last week,
uh-huh.
seeing Christian, I was walking down the street, taking my walk, and I turn and see this woman, and it's her. It's
Stop it.
her. We reconnected. So we're hanging out again. That's awesome. Tanya is.
There's one of my girlfriends just did
said,
the message.
OMG.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I love that it didn't taint my friendship with my friend Tanya. We were just like, yeah, let's dump that guy and stay, better friends.
Yeah, and that's what I've done with her as well. We're still friends. We actually made fun of a lot of things by like posting pictures together and stuff. It was funny.
Friends before bros. So let's do you have anything before where Jesus, time goes so fast. We only have 10 minutes left. But let's talk about possibly any suggestions on how, if you are in a situation like we've been talking about, how to fix it, how to move forward, I say let it go. While I was on the trip, it pissed me off, but I was like, let it go. Let it go. Yeah, it was Elsa. I came home and bitched about it to my other friends.
I'm from the same school, and I'm sure that there's a happy medium, because I think, coming back at the person isn't the right thing to do either. I think that there's some sort of compromise you can make, but I feel like before that even happens, there's like, I wrote down a list of things you should avoid when traveling with friends, because if you can prevent or try to prevent, it might save you energy, hassle, time, because you are spending money regardless of anything, and it is an experience, and it's time from your life you'll never get back again. And if what is that saying? And I know somebody's going to tell me on that screen. If an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
An ounce of prevention.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, but I think communication is like really huge before you go, and talk about the things that you want to do or the things that you definitely won't do that are deal breakers for you. And then that way you find this compromise. I think also, if you're not that great of friends, that maybe you get a different room. I think maybe that alone
time away
night might help you. I mean, if it's somebody you're great to travel with, save the money, get the room. It's fun at night when you've been drinking or whatever, and you're
giggling about
And I think that there should be, like, both people should do a little research of like the things they want to do, and maybe talk about your budget, because if you can't have a discussion like that, what else can you not discuss?
Right.
Like, look, my budget is this, and this is what I'm down to do. And if you want to go do some stuff on your own, or if you have friends you want to see, I'm all for it. I think you should not be afraid to explore alone if that's, your plan. Like I was a long time ago afraid to explore, and I am not afraid.
Me too.
Now.
Me too.
I'm like, bring it, let's do it. I always make friends wherever I go. And I think that everybody has a responsibility. Like, you should know, if you are going to share a room, what's the side of the bed you sleep on?
Yeah.
Like, compromise. Oh, I sleep on the right side. I sleep on the right side. Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Right.
I'm going to sleep on top of you. That's the only solution. I don't know. What do you want from me?
I do think that, with Gabby and
Yeah.
we were just like, it was implosive, like right away. Not right away. I mean, like when we got irritated, it just exploded really fast because we're not afraid to talk to each other like we're sisters. I was like, "Bitch, you were driving me crazy," and she's like, "Bitch, you're driving me crazy." And then we
Right.
walked away, and then we came back, and I was like, "But I love my bitch," and she's like, "I love my bitch too,"
Oh,
and that's fine.
yeah.
Um, you know, I probably have held on to a little resentment from my friend that was so horrible to me on our vacation, but it still doesn't taint that we had an incredible time regardless because
Yeah.
while I was there, I did let that go. I was being Elsa. But I do agree there are steps that you can take, maybe you're all paying for everything individually, or
Yeah.
if you go on a group thing, like a group, female group trips kind of stuff,
Yeah.
that it's all like you have time to do things on your own. Maybe talk before, like you said, about, I really want to do this while I'm there. I really want to do that while I'm there. If you
Yeah.
want to do it with me, great. If not, what are some of the things you want to do so we can do both?
Yeah.
Or maybe we have a day that we go off and we do our own things. I think that those things are super important.
Yeah.
And like you said, if you think that there might be a point where you may have an issue, get separate rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it never hurts. But I really, really believe that communication and compromise
Hmm.
are like the two main things you need to keep handy, and remember that maybe even like you guys have like a safe word, like, all right, pineapple, let's get down to the brass taxes. Why are you so pissed right now? Like, just be honest,
Right.
and
Right.
maybe they say, oh, well, you did this 3 times and I've done nothing. And okay, great. Sorry. Thank you for calling it out. I didn't notice. I thought you wanted to do it too. I think conversations are really important.
Hmm.
But if both people are not willing to have that, then I think one person, like that's it, you're that person, I'm that person that just goes, okay, I'll take one for the team and let's just
Right.
continue on the trip. And I will, you know, hope for the best that it smooths itself over and you can do that again. But I know it'll be, you know, I only like to travel with one person. I don't even think I've traveled any long distances with a guy that.
Mm. Well, Christian and I love to travel together. We're actually going to Puerto Rico in August, and I'm super
Nice.
excited about that. We do travel very well together, and we are so excited because we do know how well we do travel together.
Good.
So that's helpful. I think that, when we get down to it, the most important thing is make plans together prior,
Yes.
discuss prior. If they have food issues or you have food issues, talk about that.
Yeah.
It's just about communication. And that's pretty much with any relationship, really, is
In
communication.
general, yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have much time left. I do want to say that really quickly that I am shooting my documentary at the beginning of August. I'm going to Kentucky and to Virginia to film a woman called Diane Crump. It's called, at the moment, it's called Darling of the Derby. She was the first professional woman jockey to ride in the Kentucky Derby. I'm doing that documentary. In the show notes, I will have the link for my crowdfunding if anybody could help and wants to donate. We are
Yes.
giving out associate producer credits, executive producer credits for
Amazing.
certain amounts. And anybody who wants to just be kind and help us on this journey, that would be amazing. So they will be in the show notes. So if you have a second, check that out.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and being here with us every week. For all of our new listeners, yay, you're here. We like to talk about fun shit. And if there's something you want to hear, tell us. I'm happy to have suggestions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elena, for being able to be
Oh,
here today. This was fun chit-chatting with you again today.
absolutely.
I
Thank
love
you for
it,
having me.
of course. So Next week, actually, we are talking to Noam. He is going to talk about the spiritual approach to divorce.
Oh,
That should be interesting because I'd like an out of body experience with the divorce, but whatever. So come back next week. And until then, same time, same place. Let's just keep it real. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.